there are some women who are designed to be powerful in the home,
Yes.
and in their interactions and the relationships that they build being at home. So please, don't get it wrong as in saying that there's something wrong with women who choose to be at home, because the power is in the choice. It's in recognizing where your destiny lies, what your identity truly is, and operating from that point. If it looks like you being at home, be at home and be blessed.
At home.
And if it doesn't, then be where you're supposed to be and be blessed.
Welcome back to Soul Talk by Mdrn Woman with me, Aleshia Nicole. We are here to share stories that we can identify with. I know that when I hear a story that I identify with, I feel a sense of camaraderie, where I can say I'm not alone in this journey. And the stories of my sisters help me to find inspiration, healing, and growth. I hope that you discover that too in these stories. I'm so excited to have you for episode 11. It's the final episode in this series about real talk on the narrative about women. All right. I don't know about you, but this series has been really deep and thought-provoking for me. It's really spurred me to be more proactive about owning the narrative of my own life, all the good and the ugly and the imperfect. It all comes out to a beautiful story in the Lord. Amen. And I get to make of it what I want, despite the hindrances and the obstacles I've experienced. I get to make of my life and create the narrative that I want. All right. We are empowered to do that. And in this segment, we really deal with owning our own narrative of our own lives as women, not to the exclusion of men, mind you. I want to be very clear about that. We're saying we're adding our voices to the narrative of history wherever we are, and owning our own story as women and saying, no, this is what this really means to me. This is how I really feel about this. This is the impact this really had on my life. All right. So I'm not going to keep you from the goodness of what is in this next part of the story in this episode. So let's listen in, shall we? And I believe a man can have a father's heart, but it takes what you said. A lot of people don't have empathy. So it takes having literally God's heart and empathy. And you have to be a very special man to be able to teach a woman how to be a woman. You really have to be in God. I don't know. That's a whole other story. But what were you going to say, Mel? I'm digging a hole that I don't have time to get out of right now. So.
Oh man, wait, you said so many things. I'm trying to think which point I wanted to come back on. But I fully agree that there has been a lot of women who have settled for this incorrect view. And I think that there's a difference. There's a huge difference in settling, versus walking out your purpose. Because there are some women who are designed to be powerful in the home, and in their interactions and the relationships that they build being at home. So please, don't get it wrong as in saying that there's something wrong with women who choose to be at home, because the power is in the choice. It's in recognizing where your destiny lies, what your identity truly is, and operating from that point. If it looks like you being at home, be at home and be blessed.
At home.
And if it doesn't, then be where you're supposed to be and be blessed. Because the problem is in the control that we are all supposed to do one thing and look the same way and just be this docile, quiet, lacking identity. I do what the man says, and I am yet waiting for a man to arrive, as if we were created for men.
Yeah.
We weren't. So I think that it's just important that just as much as men's destinies are spoken to, so are women's. And there should be an understanding that my destiny is powerful if I never get married. I am a powerful woman if I never get married, and that is not the whole of who I am. Whether I have children or not, I can fulfill the fullness of who I was created to be. Like, we can all look different ways and operate in strength and virtue. And I don't think that narrative is discussed or taught the way that it should be. Because if we were actually being empowered, then we wouldn't actually... I mean, there are women who genuinely feel bad because they're single. Like, they feel like something's wrong with them because they're single. And that is because of the lie that marriage is an achievement instead of a ministry.
That's so good.
Like, I think that to me, that is something that's really bothersome, because it's not taught, and it is the heart of the Father. So I don't identify with this whole, and I personally would rather continue to not be married than marry someone who thinks he can never tell me who I'm not going to be. Like, that's not my portion. That's what I'll say. That's not my portion. Like, I know that I will be connected to a man who fully empowers and embraces all of Melanie. And is not intimidated by the weightiness of my destiny. Like, we will be equally paired and matched in all facets, because that's the goal. That's my portion, and that's a hard pill. It is, because it is counter narrative. Yeah. It's not the norm. Most people would just rather be married, but I would rather have my destiny.
Amen. Well said. Well said. I actually this past week was thinking, like, I'm so grateful that I never ended up in a relationship. I was one of the people who, I was exactly like what you said, up until, maybe the past 4 years, not happy being single, feeling like something was wrong. And I was one of the people, there was a point in my life, I've mentioned it in a few videos, where I prayed, don't let anybody come, right or wrong. Because I knew my whole life was going to be wrapped up in the identity of that person, and I would lose myself because I was so insecure. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I love and admire about you, and have really, like, at different points of time tried to really work to emulate, I would think about you and the fact that you owned who you are from the beginning. You never questioned who Mel is, and so that had been a marker for me about, like, this is something that Melanie gets that I don't. And it's ironic. I mean, I know part of the journey for me has been because Mdrn Woman is talking about loving, owning, and living your life. And I need to be able to speak to women from both standpoints, not loving it, owning it, living it, and now doing it. And I was thinking about, like, God, if I had married some of the guys that I liked, I would be miserable. Girl, but not because they're not good men, but because they aren't right for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not be this Aleshia with them, And so, well, case in point, we are very strong, wonderful, powerful women who definitely want to be married. Yeah. And, to another point, I want to reiterate what you said about women being in the home. When I think of my life, I think of me running my businesses at home with my children. Mm-hmm. I don't want someone else taking care of my kids all of the time. Mm-hmm. I want to be their mom, Other people can be a part of the village to raise them, but I am their mama. Yeah. And so that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and I really felt like I got a good understanding of that when I was a nanny. Mm-hmm. Because of the amount of time I spent with the kids, I was like, I can't do this, because, and it just was, for me, it was a desire, like, because as much as I have in my life, as much as I've wanted to be a doctor, I've wanted to be a mother. Like, there's not one of them that's stronger than the other. Like, exactly. I know, that these are both strong purposes in my life, and I don't regard one higher than the other, because they're equally significant. So when I was spending so much time taking care of other people's children, it was a beautiful thing to me. But at the same time, I was like, I have to shape my life once I have children so that other people aren't raising them. Because I it's important for me to raise my children, and for no matter how many ventures I have going on, for them to be incorporated into the way that I operate, so that
All the
they
things.
are there, so it's like, if I have an office, there's going to be a room or several rooms in that office where my children can be, like they're just
Yes.
having that mindset about things, because I know that it's going to shift my life once I'm married and once I have kids. But if I'm mindful about it now in the way that I built my businesses, then the shift, I'll be able to pivot. So I think just being mindful of those things are important. And really, like, I had to do the same thing with the Lord about, like, I asked the Lord to hide me, because relationships came too easy, I think, is a good way to say it. And I really wanted to find myself in God. Like, I felt like there was so much more on my life than I recognized. And I didn't want to be devoted to a relationship before I found that out. Before I really, like, understood, who I was. Because I didn't feel like, at the time in my life when I asked the Lord to hide me, I didn't feel like those aspects of myself were being spoken to. And so I was like, because relationships can be so time consuming, I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. After that relationship had ended, I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. Like, and I don't even want anybody to approach me about a relationship right now. I just want to figure out who I am in you. And then after that, we can go forward. But for me right now, and for me, honestly, one of those reasons why I asked that was because I did not see myself. And it's not just professionally, like in the spirit. I didn't see how I was formed, how I operate. I didn't see that in another woman. And so I needed to understand, like, my giftings, my operations, like just the way that Melanie was created to function in the earth. Like, there was no model for me, And that can be, like you said, it can be really isolating, It can be really just like, well, what's really going on? Do I have something wrong? Like, should I not, am I trying to do too much? Am I doing too much? I don't ask myself, am I doing too much? I just say I'm the queen of do too much. That's just who I am. You can find me out somewhere doing too much. I know that that's how I'm supposed to be. Like, it's who I am. So if I hadn't have learned that, it could have been, I guess. It could have been possible for somebody to come in my life and tell me I was doing too much, and tell me, because it sounds like wisdom for me to, slow down and not do so many things at once, That sounds like wisdom, like perfect this thing, when really I was designed to be able to perfect 7 things at once. It's just how I was designed to operate and function, and it's not the norm. So understanding that and being solidified in my purpose, and I'm not trying to say like I'm done maturing or anything, I'm still very much in this process, but I have a greater foundation than I did in my 20s, right? Like, so like even with the confidence that my mom says I came out the womb with, I like still needed that foundational purpose and identity understanding. And I think that's something that's really lacking overall in society, is women understanding their purpose and their identity, because we're meant to shape the future. We're meant to shape history. We're meant to do those kind of things.
We're meant to shape and nurture the people who will shape history. Women nurture. We do. And to do that, you've got to know who you are to be able to nurture the way that you're meant to.
You have to know who you are. Or then, I mean, you don't even know if you are settling, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you're called to do, what you're supposed to do, if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't even know. Like, so it's not always black and white, but I really think having a greater understanding of those things empowers us, and it enables us to actually walk out our purpose and achieve our destinies, even though it's not popular. It's not what's seen. It's not even, well understood. That does not negate the fact that that's who we're supposed to be.
Yeah. And we're not even saying you can't find yourself in marriage. Or like you've got to find who you are single. Your identity is always going to be developed. And Wendy and I talked a lot about that in series 2, identity and love. It's in God and in knowing Him. So in and out of marriage, that's not what we're talking about.
No,
we are
not at all.
saying find you, let God. And by finding you, really, it's about connecting with God and letting the Lord speak to you and establish identity. And we have let the narrative, a whole other narrative, set who we are without ever really talking to God to know. We just assume this is what it is and honestly, there are a lot of people who taught it in church just because someone else who taught it. Exactly. I am certain that there are men who didn't agree with that narrative, but because they trusted someone who told them, they did it anyway. And there were women who didn't agree with the narrative, but because they trusted a person who told them, they did it anyway. And so, the heart of the matter is letting God set the narrative about who a woman is, what she's called to and what she's meant to, and living that. Yeah. And God is, and that gets into a whole other issue with patriarchy, because the way we see God as a father is very different than who He actually is. It is. But that's for another episode, Mel. We cannot get into that now. We're going to have to wrap it up. But the thing is, God is a good father who created women. Like you said it earlier on, He said, hold up, Adam. You can't be by yourself. You need this woman. Yep. You work with her. She's going to help you work. You're going to function best when you have this element. And it's not just in the husband and wife relationship. Men and women working together in business, bringing their unique aspects is what makes it better. Some of my most fond relationships and memories, like I love my sisters, but I also love my brothers. And the men that I get to be in relationship with, they make my life better. They give me another perspective. Even just talking with my actual blood brothers, I will go to them and talk to them about things and just get affirmation. Like I will call them when I just need to hear a man say something nice about me. But I don't even have to tell them to say it. They're just so affirming. They build me up. My dad, one day I was like, I said something. He's like, oh yeah, you're a queen. And anyone else could have told me that. But to hear my dad say it was like,
it's different.
My whole world is made. It's a beautiful thing. So
it's different, and I think that that's the point, is that there's equal value for the woman's perspective, like there is for the man's perspective, and that they're both needed. And one is not better than the other or anything along those lines. And I mean, whether you're talking about business, whether you're talking about ministry, whether you're talking about marriage, understanding both perspectives and having honor on, both perspectives and both roles, I think that's where the power lies, instead of acting as if one is better or more needed than the other, because that is not true, and then you miss out on the whole picture and on what things are actually supposed to be, because you don't have all the roles you need. So I completely agree, and I think it can be really off-putting, in business and in ministry, when there is a lack of respect on the woman's role and things like that, or when people say dumb stuff like, this is a woman's role.
Yeah. Because it's,
But I've had male relationships my whole life that I just absolutely love and adore. So definitely don't want to seem like there's not an honor for that, because I think it's important, even just male friendships. They're important. It matters to be able to have a male perspective in your life. It matters to be able to have a female perspective. You see how that works? Go back.
Exactly. That is the point. And so what we're doing is tipping the scale and bringing more balance to it, I believe, is what this whole conversation is about. Melanie, this has been amazing.
It has been fun, Aleshia. We should do this again.
I was right. You were the right person for this.
This was
the
fun.
Lord was right. So guys, I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for joining the story. If you have any questions, if you have any feedback, post in the comments on the YouTube channel. Feel free to email me. All of the information is always in the show notes. Melanie, thank you so much again.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Amazing. I'm going to have you back. I already have plans for you. I have plans for you. I got plans. All right, Lord. Oh, Lord. I'm about to pray. Oh, gosh. All right, everybody. Again, thanks so much for being a part and joining the story. And we will catch you in the next series. I have a new great friend who is going to be joining us. We talked a lot about identity, owning your story, living out the narrative that God has set for your life. And so then with Howie, Howie is going to be talking with us about living who you are, letting your light shine, and what it's like to do that when it's accepted and when it's not. It's going to be so good. So I'm looking forward to bringing that next series to you guys. And until then, we pray that you have a wonderful, awesome, blessed every day, because I don't know when you're going to listen to this. And remember to love, own, and live your own journey. All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
What a wonderful wrap to this series. Melanie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and passion throughout these episodes. It was truly inspiring for me and all the listeners. You rock, girl. Thank you. And listen, every series has been so special and so powerful in its own unique way. Series 4 is no exception. I have my friend and sister, Howie Bekele Bengesa, and myself. We're going to be talking about living and letting your light shine when it's easy and wonderful and great, and when it's hard and when it costs you everything. I cannot wait to share this series with you. Series 4 is all about inspiring you to live the fullest expression of who you are, no matter what. And, thus far in these podcasts, we've talked about recognizing and owning and valuing our own journeys. Now we're going to be going into what it really looks like to engage your identity in the world around you. Living life for me, but it's not enough to live for us. We have to know who we are so that we can serve the world around us well. And we don't want to watch life pass us by. We want to live life to the fullest. And that's what we're getting into in series 4. All right. So while you're waiting on the next series to drop, feel free to reach out on Facebook and Instagram. Let me know your thoughts on this series or any series so far. I'd love to hear your feedback. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel with some live recordings of these podcasts and other fun series by Mdrn Woman. We have a ton of content to encourage you and to connect with you. You are amazing. And thank you, as always, for joining the story.